Okay, good afternoon, or good evening, council. If we can get a mover and a seconder to open the meeting, please. Moved by Councillor Peter Kistemaker, second by Councillor Belinda Kistemaker. Be it resolved that we do call this regular meeting of council to order on Wednesday, November 15th, 2023 at 6 p.m. Those in favor? And that is carried and opposed. And I hand it over to Deputy Mayor Belinda.
The Council of the Corporation of the Township of Hornepayne would like to begin by respectfully acknowledging that the land on which we gather here today is the Treaty 9, 1905-1906 territory, the traditional lands of Indigenous peoples. As we work towards reconciliation, may we all live with respect on this land and live in peace and friendship with all its diverse peoples.
Thank you. Item number 3, review and note any changes to the agenda. So we do have one change, council. It's within our closed session. We need to add item 13.4 related to staffing. And this will also change item 13.4 and add that item and then return to open the item 13.5. So if I can get a mover and a seconder to approve the agenda as amended. Moved by Councillor Drago-Spanik, second by Councillor Belinda Kistemaker. Be it resolved that council does hereby approve the agenda as amended. Those in favor? And that is carried and opposed. Item number 5 is declaration of pecuniary interest, declaration of conflict of interest. I don't have any paperwork as of now, and council, you can do that anytime throughout the meeting and in the close if such a situation arises. Item number 6 is departmental reports, and we have the fire chief's report. And I welcome Fire Chief Miles Lonsford here. Would you like to speak to your report before we open up for comment or questions, Miles?
I don't think so. Did you read it? I guess I'm sure you did.
Yeah, we have it. Yeah.
I could give you a quick presentation. I wasn't ready to do that, but I'll do that. We purchased extra equipment this year. Public education is doing great. The arena on their own put out Sparky the fire dog and fire prevention on the ice for the kids to see and reach out to the families. So they did that on their own with Long Black because they've been seeing a lot of ads on Facebook and on the radio, and that was really heartwarming for a lot of us that really work hard on fire prevention, and we don't really often see the results. I guess we've had, I think, 0 house fires in the last 6 years, 3 garage fires, right? And that's very good. So fire prevention is working. We've been helping the paramedics quite a bit lately. They're short-staffed. There's a bit of issues. I talked here about 6 fire calls we've received, and first aid calls along the highways, which is up considerably. Usually they don't call us because they know we don't cover the highways. And they've been calling us because they need help. Right, I think the highways might be busier. I don't know about our highway, but Highway 11's extremely busy. We've received 6 calls here in the past year, and it really could have made a difference for us to go out there. A lot of them were quick and easy calls. A lot of the calls that we would receive would be for medical assistance or to close the highway or protect the ambulance. Sometimes we just park the truck on the road and protect people, right? Lots of different calls. Accidents, just washing the highway off. So there's been a few issues with the ambulance needing help. We're allowed under their coverage to drive the ambulance. Right, they've put that out there. They've changed whatever policy, and they cover us under their liabilities and to drive the ambulance to help them out. But if it's outside of town limits, where do we stand? Right. So the problem we had was that there was a call 40 kilometers out of town, motorcycle wiped out, and the paramedic was going out there alone, so they need a driver to drive the ambulance back. But they can't say that they need a driver because I'm not allowed to drive in until they're in the back with the patient, right? So they wanted the Hornepayne Fire Department to respond to drive out there with them or in our own vehicles, fire truck, and then one of the firefighters drive back with the patient, right? But we can't go outside of town limits. And on the South Highway, that's the airport road, like 2-3 kilometers out of town. That's the furthest we can go. We had an auto X case quite a few years ago. It was just past the airport road. The guy was in his car for 45 minutes before he passed away. White River, of course, is on its way, and a fire truck is slow on the highways, right? So I think there's a real need for us to go outside of our limits. That's for you guys to look at, and I guess we'll deal with that another time, another report. There's lots. Anyways, I don't know how much I'm supposed to talk about that, but that's an issue that's heavy on my heart. It's always been there. So now I'm going to be bringing it to council and put it in a better report, I guess. SCBAs, we talked about that at budget, and I talked to Ted, and we're not making much headway on fundraising. I don't know what he was doing. He was going to head it up, and it was mostly going to be his baby, and he's not doing very well with it at all. So we have to protect our firefighters with this, and we're down to 5 old packs and 1 really old pack, and there's no spare parts for these. So part of it is changing companies, because MSA is kind of, you're stuck with them for life because you always have to replace everything, right? We'll be changing companies that are still making parts 35 years. They're still making parts for packs that are 30 years old. So we can do better with that. I believe that's it. Lots of training. Training's ongoing. Training's going well. Firefighter 1 and 2, we received more help from the fire marshal's office. They really reduced our practicals. It was 280 hours of practical for firefighter 1 and 2, and now I don't know what the numbers are, but we did it in about 10 months. We got 2 more 5 cars to light on fire practices, sort of thing, and we'll have done it in 11 or 12 months for the practical portion. So we'll be working on the books this winter and the computer programs, and we'll have a proctor come in sometime early in the new year, and that'll be the first time that we ever qualify a firefighter. Instead of sending them away to firefighters, whatever, this will actually qualify people. So that's a big deal, I think. And that's it. Renovations. We'll talk about that at budget time, but they're needed, right? And that's it.
Just one quick question, Miles. That qualification, when is that going to come about? Because you said you have 2 more vehicle fires that you have to do. When do you perceive that coming? Because it definitely should be celebrated.
The vehicle fires we could do anytime. We'll likely do in the hopefully December. And then book work through the winter, computer and book work, and everybody has to go through all their testing, and then we'll have a proctor come in. It's not easy getting somebody in, but we're going to try to get somebody in here in the spring, hopefully.
Okay, well, just keep us posted on that so that
Absolutely.
It doesn't get lost in the shuffle, and that everyone's acknowledged.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that, Miles. And I open up the floor for questions. Councillor Peter Kistemaker, go ahead.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I did talk to our fire chief a while back about this, and I asked him about the SCBA, and I was under the impression that we passed it, we were going to put it in the budget. This is something that we just can't work up to, and I didn't realize, or I must have missed the boat on this, about Ted taking over, and I think it's very noble and a very generous idea. But time is of the essence, and if we have a fire, like literally, this is something that the firefighters cannot use. We need it now, and I think this should be put right to the forefront, and we should deal with this sooner than later. Because it's going to be one of those things where when it's too late, there's no going back. Because fundraising is a great idea, but fundraising is good for something that is not a life or death situation for our volunteers as well as victims, and it takes time. And we just don't have that. I don't want to sound the alarm, but I am sounding it. This is something there that I was thrown back.
Can we include that on our budget for 2024?
The
Yeah, breathing apparatus.
Yeah, the SCBA's. SCBA's.
And it was through a fire chief that all of us, we didn't even know the situation, that the dire straits that they're in. And this is on top of all the other government regulations they're putting down on you.
Huge.
I do have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
In your report, you mentioned something about when you were talking about the pumper. And when it comes to our fire insurance rating, where are we on that rating? Like, are we at the very bottom or?
So I should have talked about that. I meant to speak about the pump, the apparatus. So the fire underwriter survey is something that was asked of me to do by, what's his name?
As part of the service delivery review.
Yes, yeah, so thank you. And the insurance companies have sent a warning out and put us on, I don't remember the term,
Yeah,
Provisional status.
provisional status.
yes, I have that.
So he explained that it's a warning to other insurance companies that there's a problem with the fire department. Our truck is not, it's not even on the books. It doesn't exist in Hornepayne. We have no pumper apparatus as far as insurance companies go. I sat there at last budget meeting and pulled it off the table, and that was a mistake on my part. I guess I was overwhelmed listening to you guys trying to deal with the budget, and it was huge for me. And you know, if you look at my vehicles, I drive. Right.
Yeah.
And this truck it's in great shape. It passed all the tests. It's doing well. In my opinion, I would keep going, and that's what I said. And so we pulled it off the budget. The insurance companies, they don't like that idea. They don't count it. It doesn't exist in Hornepayne. We have no fire truck, according to the insurance companies. So I was speaking to a gentleman, and he spoke with me about actuaries and said, find out what the actuaries have us rated at, because if you're already at the bottom of the barrel, who cares? Keep your truck forever, right?
Okay.
And I had spoken to the fire marshal's office last spring about our pumper before speaking to you guys about it in the budget. And I asked him what other communities are doing, and he governs 47 fire departments in northwestern Ontario, and he said plus all the ones that aren't NFP fire protection program, they're not municipalities. So he's got many of those also. He oversees quite a bit, and he said there's many communities that have older pumpers and are running older pumpers. We don't use them very often, right? So they're still in great shape. So it's up to the insurance companies. It's up to you guys. I haven't found out. I don't know how to find out that information to see what level we're actually at. And if we're already at the bottom for whatever reason, then it's up to council to decide if we need a truck or not.
May I make a comment there?
Yes,
Mayor?
go ahead.
I think this should be something too that we could bring forward. I don't know if it would be AMO or whatnot, but in a delegation, our public works manager could attest to this. Equipment should be measured by hours of use, not the year. And the problem with the government is they only see age. They don't see the people that make, the people in power that make the policies never have feet on the ground in a situation that we're dealing with at the time. And Hornepayne is a perfect example. We probably have a fire truck that's got less hours on it than Toronto would see in, say, 8 months. Not being said, they're allowed to use it for another 24 years, so they're actually getting 50 times the mileage, or the hours, not the mileage, the hours of operation. And that's something that the government is blind to see, and I think that maybe we should put that in the light if it hasn't been brought up already, because it's not just Hornepayne that's affected. Like, what's a new pumper worth now, Miles? $600,000. A $600,000 replacement on something that's maybe 20-30% used, that's not beneficial to anybody.
I like that idea, Peter.
You
I
know?
think that's a great delegation.
Just to change the terminate, or how would you say it, the termination, or like basically how you word it. And age should never be a factor, especially when these things are all being stored inside, out of salt, out of, they're parked in a heated environment. It's the best case scenario. And in Hornepayne especially, we've got minimal salt on the road, and you guys are always maintaining it. So the hours are nothing on. We're still using the yellow one at the mill, and it still works fine.
Absolutely.
And that was from the early 70s.
It doesn't pass any of the tests. It's
No.
running, it's operated about 60-65% last time we tested it.
Right.
Ours is running at 100.
Yeah. Just something to think about going forward.
Well, we'll definitely have to find out exactly which ministry that we would do that delegation with, so that we're ensuring we're talking to the right people.
Mhm.
And this could be enough to bring up to Good Roads, because if there's enough municipalities in this situation, we could get them advocating on our behalf as well.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Dawn.
The other thing that I noticed coming out of this, and even with the ambulances being on that board and whatever, like if you're applying for a fire truck, whatever, you're looking at 2 years, maybe even more, waiting. So going forward, should we be putting in our name now because we know that? And what does that entail? Like, I don't know. And I would really like to know where we are with this fire insurance rating. Where does Township of Hornepayne set when it comes to this? I think that's important.
I spoke to,
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I
Neil.
spoke to a few salesmen at the fire conference in Thunder Bay, and they all told me 1.5 to 2 years.
Okay.
But there was one guy that says, we're still building one, it's not sold yet. So if you want it, call me, right? So
You want it,
it
but
happens once in a while, there's one that's not sold.
And I do know that's happening with their ambulances as well. So you're waiting.
So I was looking at, I haven't looked into it, but I was thinking of used. The gentleman that did anyways, he said the best time to buy equipment is at 6 years old and sell it at 9 years old. But with fire truck, who wants to sell a 6-year-old fire truck? In Toronto,
Yeah.
right?
which we're,
So
yeah.
then you're gonna pay a huge amount to rebuild pumps and rebuild.
Can we refurbish? Is that such a thing, or is that not?
I can look into it. It's really, what I'm reading and what I was told is that the fire underwriter, so this is an insurance thing, not a government issue. It's an insurance company's issue. I think, I don't know if you have it, but I gave it. I sent you the email from the fire underwriter survey. There's a 5-page document. I can give it to you to read.
Well, I think there's definitely action we can take on that. We'll look into, so we need to know where we actually sit with the insurance. And then if you can find out if we can refurbish, that would be information we need. And then I do think we can do a delegation and make sure that the province is aware that this, I do agree that we shouldn't be just marking things by age, because even a 6-year-old fire truck from Toronto would probably be in worse shape than the one we have in our garage. Like, that doesn't make sense. So, go ahead, Councilor.
Yeah, Mayor, thank you for a solid report. I commend you and the entire fire department for the service you provide. I'm sure everybody else on council for us. I remember very clearly when we discussed the last budget, and I said in this table, I looked at you, what would you need minimum? You said 5 SPCA, and everybody agreed. I don't know what happened to the budget.
10.
Or 10.
No, but we said, let's go halfway. I said that. And let's go to 5 first and then 5 after.
Well, that's possible.
Yeah, it's a fact. I know what I said.
Yeah.
And
No, I said that.
because everybody agreed on that issue. Let's start with 5. I'll have to go back on all the minutes on the rewind the council meeting, because I know what I said, and I'm surprised to see that it's only 10. That's a necessity, as Peter said. I mean, gee whiz.
I think it was for the 2024 budget originally when we were talking about it, was it not? Because it,
2023.
the 2023?
We talked about it in April or May.
Okay, so it was for that.
I
but-
speak
Yeah, go
about
ahead,
that.
yeah.
So it was suggested 5 and 5, and you're right, absolutely, and it was a great idea. I'd already looked into that. The problem with that, and we can do that, but it'd have to be like December 31st and January 1st, right? We can do it that way, absolutely. But, and they even said, I'll send you 10 right now, and I'll bill you 5 this year, and I'll bill you 5 next year. Some salesmen have already said they would do that. Others had offered leases, but we couldn't just buy 5 now and later buy 5 whenever we want, because we're changing the entire system from low pressure to high pressure.
No, I mean, there was just a few, but I remember 5 we discussed and we jumped another 5, so that's a necessity. And for a future report, you were saying you'd like to see possible travel out of town on the Highway 61 north and south. Can you give us, what's the mileage you're looking at approximately that you want to be able to cover?
I would honestly, I would say right to each highway would be what I would stretch for. White River would certainly cover their half of Highway 631 South. But to tell dispatch that we're only going 50 kilometers and somebody says 50 kilometers or 45 kilometers out of town, and they're actually 53 kilometers out of town, and I gotta make a cut at 50. And the laws, whatever the rules are, the policies are, that's black and white, right? So we would tell dispatch, we'll cover half the highway, White River will cover half, but we'll take calls. I would say we would take calls right to White River. And we are actually part of mutual aid, and that agreement isn't in place yet, but there is no agreement.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Well, I think that's all part of the revamping that we have to do to the whole policy, the
ENR, establishing and regulating.
the ENR. So, because I think it needs to be clarified, even with, in your last paragraph of your report about the cottages and back roads, and we need to know exactly what those are, like where those coverages lie, so that we have them included in our bylaws.
Right now, what we cover right now, or what we want?
What we want to cover, like, because this would be, it would be, when we do the ENR, when we update that, then you would have to have it spelled out.
Sure.
So, and then we can have a discussion about Highway 11 and 17, because we have to remember that if you're all the way at White River, there is no coverage in our community then.
So I've reached out to Hornepayne Lumber. I guess we could talk about that.
Yeah, I think what we're gonna need is, we'll need a broader report. I do think
Sure.
with the financial assistance that's now being offered
Yeah,
for out of town coverage, I think it's something that council would definitely look into. So I would say that this needs to come back in a fuller report, just
Sure.
that alone, a standalone, and then we can have a discussion on it.
Okay.
And is there any, just right now preliminary from council, is there anything that you would, questions arise that you would see or need understanding for that report?
And then we talked about it's covered already.
Yeah, my thing is just where we stand actually when it comes to insurance, like,
Liability.
you know,
Yeah,
it's the key to everything. So where do we stand with our fire truck? Where do we, everything, like, what category are we actually in?
yeah, so we need to know that, but, and then when we look at the broader picture of covering outside of our limits. And do we, and we'll have to look into seeing what, if there's any place in our budget for, to buy any of the apparatuses this year. And then if we can possibly bring that back, just the amount of where we could get money out of our budget. With any of our holdings, and if we have to put 75,000 into next year's. I do have a couple of other questions about your report, Miles. Paramedic services driving for the ambulance. I'm glad that you clarified what's happening with that you're covered under, the drivers are covered under their insurance while they're driving with another paramedic and the patient in the vehicle. I have asked at ADSAB to look into this, into their liabilities, and we're going to be looking further into our liabilities on that. Just because that there is case law out there where ambulance drivers are being charged if there's an accident. And I wouldn't want our fire volunteers, any of our volunteers, not understanding the risk that they could be imposing upon themselves by driving that, okay? So, and the other portion of that too is, volunteers being left at a location because there's no way to get them back if you're driving outside of, like, to Wawa or where have you, right?
So that's what happened is I couldn't respond to that call because I need to be the driver, right? Or else I leave my vehicle on the side of the road 40 kilometers out of town and have to get somebody to bring me out there after. And I can't be the driver when there's a qualified paramedic beside me who's not doing anything. He has to leave. They have to drive. She has to drive on. So I'm not part of the fire department when I respond, and I'm not allowed out of my limits unless I'm driving the ambulance. So I did take a patient last December from Hornepayne to Kapuskasing, but I got from Hornepayne with a paramedic and 2 nurses in the back, and then drove them to Kapuskasing, right? But as soon as we're done in Cap, they drive back. I'm not allowed to drive when they're suddenly available.
Oh, wow. So
That's,
did you-
that's where we had difficulty leaving Hornepayne when there was a paramedic available to drive, and now I'm not a driver. And I can't.
And did you get a drive back? Did they drove you back to Hornepayne during that time?
When we went to Kapuskasing, yeah, we had the paramedic and the 2 nurses. We were all from Hornepayne, so we all drove back.
Okay. Yeah, so this just needs clarity, and we are working at it at the ADSAT board to make sure we have clarity. And then within our municipality, I strongly want to reiterate that I want to ensure our volunteers are protected and that they know that the risk that they could be incurring by driving the ambulance. So, and I know that the situations that we're talking about it's, when you think about, you have a paramedic that deals with this daily in the different situations, it's such a heightened level of stress. And then to be put in that position to drive when that's not your regular routine, or even have you been trained in that sort of thing, that's where I want to protect the people, because everything's okay if everything works out fine, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not even talking about an accident. I'm talking about if something happens to the patient en route. Like, there's so many variables that even trained paramedics have a hard time dealing with. And I just want to be very cautious and ensure that our volunteers know and that people are protected from liability. Okay, and that being said, we all know the people who are getting the calls within our community, right? So it's definitely a heightened risk for our volunteers. So we'll update what we find out at both levels of how to move forward. And I wanted to give a huge shout out to the fire department and all of your volunteers, Miles, because I see you at our bonfire, I see you putting up our tree, doing our fireworks, and all sorts of, like, just out in the community when we do community events for town council or for the township as a whole. You're there, your people are there, and we wouldn't be able to do any of those events without you. We really wouldn't. So,
Thank you. I'll let you know.
yes.
And I'd like to also say, like, I get the help from the senior management team.
Well, that's great, because that's teamwork then, right? And that's working, and we need those celebrations in our community, right? So, yeah. So let them know. And, and the other questions I had was that, reiterating what the limits will need to be, and then establishing and regulating policy that needs to be updated, and that we need to include that in there. Okay, and I think you have a general consensus now that council's in a position to want to move forward with that, to give you the authority to go outside of limits, okay? Or establish some limits.
I'll have a report soon.
Okay. Okay, is there any further questions on the fire chief's report?
Thank you.
Okay, and I want to thank you for your report, Miles. This is extensive, and it's, I think, the most extensive report we've seen from the fire department, so that's good, and that's what we need.
Yep.
So, yes. And just a shout out, budget talks are coming. So get that in. I don't want to be denying you in April. Okay, if I can get a mover and a seconder to acknowledge receipt, please. Moved by Councillor Peter Kistemaker, second by Councillor Belinda Kistemaker. Be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Hornepayne does hereby acknowledge receipt of the departmental report for the Hornepayne Fire Department provided at the regular meeting of council held on Wednesday, November 15th, 2023. Those in favor? And that is carried, none opposed. Okay, moving on to correspondence action items. We have 7.1 is a donation request. And I want to interject here, I neglected to tell council that we do have a solicitor in our closed session today, and we have booked the time. So at 7:15, we will be going in, we will be closing open, just wherever we are in our agenda. And I apologize for that. I should have mentioned that at the beginning of the meeting. So continuing on to 7.1. Donation request. If I can get a mover and a seconder, and we can move by Councillor Drago Stefanik, second by Councillor Peter Kistemaker. The Corporation of the Township of Hornepayne does hereby authorize a donation amount of some dollars to be expensed from the council advertising and public relations to the 2023 Santa Claus Christmas party to be held on December 17th, 2023. Be it further resolved that council does hereby authorize an additional in-kind donation of 20 tables and 100 chairs to be provided on December 16th, 2023. And I open this up for discussion. Councillor Drago Stefanik.
Through there to the CAO, what are the funds available still in that budget area for donations, please?
We have budgeted, I believe because this happens yearly, that it's already in the 2023 budget.
For 1,000, right?
Yes, yeah, for 1,000.
I will move that 1,000, then yes.
1,000,
Yeah,
okay.
because Pam does an outstanding job and her team and the entire community benefits. Everyone benefits.
Yes, definitely.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Eileen.
I just wanted to further add to this in regards to the donation for the chairs and the tables. Mayor Fort had asked in our agenda review if there would be overtime required for that, and there will be, just because setting up during regular work hours is on a Friday, so that's school's happening, so they wouldn't be able to do it. So it would have to, there would be some overtime involved in order to get that set up, whether it's on Friday after school's done or on Saturday.
Okay. Any discussion on that? No? Okay.
It's gotta get done.
And they could pick it up Monday on during the workday because there's no activity in school until 9 o'clock. The staff starts early before 9 o'clock. You can pick it up Monday. Doesn't bite to the overtime to pick it up.
Okay, well, I'll leave
Well,
that
this
up
is
to
just,
the
but I'm saying the
administration.
opportunity is there. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
That will minimize the overtime as much as we can, but yeah, there's allowable for it. Okay. And so I've inserted the amount of $1,000 into the motion that I read. And if there's no further comment on that or discussion, I put it to a vote. Those in favor? And that is carried, none opposed. 7.2 is Eats and Treats, looking for a liquor license. If I can get a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Belinda Kistemaker, second by Councillor Peter Kistemaker. Be it resolved that the Council of Corporation of the Township of Hornepayne is aware of and has no objections to the application by Eats and Treats for a permanent liquor license to serve alcoholic beverages, providing the establishment meets all of the requirements of the Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario, AGCO. Be it further resolved that council does hereby authorize the CAO clerk to sign the attached form 2085E municipal information of liquor sales licenses. Any discussion on that motion? No. I put that to a vote. Those in favor? And that is carried. Item 7.3 is a request for support. If I can get a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Drago Stefanik, second by Councillor Belinda Kistemaker. Whereas council received correspondence from Bourgouin, MPP, Mushkegowuk James Bay, requesting support for his private member's bill that would make it completely illegal for a vehicle to pass on the left side of the lane when it is marked with 2 solid yellow lines. And whereas creating a law that will prevent vehicles, including heavy trucks, from passing or attempting to pass on the left side of the lane when it is marked with 2 solid yellow lines is currently a recommendation of the province, but it is not for him. Would make highways safer in Northern Ontario. Therefore, be it resolved that the Council of Corporation of Township of Hornepayne does hereby support Bourgouin, MPP, Mushkegowuk James Bay and his private member's bill to make it illegal for a vehicle to pass on a highway marked with 2 solid yellow lines. Be it further resolved that this resolution be forwarded to the Honorable Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario, the Honorable Pravneet Zakaria, Minister of Transportation, Michael Mantha, MPP, Algoma Manitoulin, the Northwest Ontario Municipal Association, NOMA, the Northeast Ontario Municipal Association, that was NOMA, and then NOMA, the Federation of Northern Ontario Municipalities, NOMA, with a copy to Guy Bourgouin, MPP, Muskegowuk, James Bay. Any discussion on that motion? There being none, I put it to a vote. Those in favor, and that is carried and opposed. Okay, moving on to 7.4, we have the
Do that.
Northeast Superior Regional Broadband Network. Okay, before I read the motion, I'm gonna put the discussion first, just in case we have to change the motion. So this was tabled at our meeting early last year, and we had declined paying. So it's back now, and I open up the floor for discussion first.
I personally think we have to pay it. I don't know.
Some background information. So after meeting with Eileen and looking at the original agreement, and talking with Marinatel, so Duberville has paid the entirety of the bill. So we actually owe Duberville now, which I had reached out to Marinatel to see if it had been negotiated down, which I was willing to do and approach it that way, because there's a few other communities that have not paid as well. After our discussion with her, I said, I'm not sure where my council will sit, but if we end up doing any sort of payment, I would be willing to ensure that our motion favors that people pay Duberville. I don't think it's right that they're holding those funds. I would have liked the opportunity to negotiate it down. Go ahead,
But
Councilor.
what's Hornepayne benefiting from the whole thing? Like, are we getting direct benefit from it?
No, so we opted in March, last February, March, to go out of the whole network.
Right?
And then the bills came after April, and you'll see in our agreement that we originally gave, so in our original agreement, we signed up for 3,000, which we paid. We were part of that group. And then we gave another 1,000 at the second round. And in our documents, the contract that we were under, that any further funding would need further funding agreements. And as the articles were written, if they overspent what originally was agreed upon, not Duberville. DD West and Crown Corporation was the company that was supposed to cover those. That's why they went ahead and spent, and they didn't cover it. And then it was divided, the invoice of 60,000 was divided between all the communities. It came out to just over 6,600. And at our discussions last year, we said no, like it's the responsibility of Crown. And it came back to Duberville just in September, I believe, and to keep good rapport with their solicitor, they decided to pay it, and then reached back out to the communities for the shares. Go ahead, Councilor.
I think the main thing about all this, though, we were part of it for a long time. So there was a lot of work put into it, and there was. And we did know, even at the end, when we said we weren't gonna be part of it, we did know that this was somehow gonna come back, right?
Yes, because we got, after we got out of the entire group at the end of March of last year, then we knew there was an outstanding invoice coming. So my thoughts on it is that it has helped the region. We do things to help the region. We were involved quite extensively. I would have taken the opportunity to negotiate it down had that opportunity been for us. But at the same time, Duberville is going to have the internet that they need. And so there's a different, and then we have our relationship with Duberville, right? And
So this is a one-shot deal. Once we pay our share, then it's done.
it's done for us, like completely done. And yeah. And it's not, and we can decide what portion, or if we want to pay the whole thing, or if we don't, or it still is our decision. Councilor Trace,
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. If you follow the timeline, if you've read all the information, March 29th letter was dated by former CEO. She states on March 24th, we said we are completed with this project. They continued the project and they overspent. I have a real problem paying that. They knew March 24th, the resolution 21-2099, we as a whole made a decision, we're not proceeding for whatever reasons were. And they knew that, and they proceeded because somebody else was gonna pick up the tab. Well, it didn't happen. Now they're coming back after, like, if this letter was written in March, April, May, then I could see it was responsible. But they were still full bore with their project. And the cost was being accumulated.
Mm-hmm. I do think the invoice, though, if you read the invoice, I do think it is previous to they bring the invoice out in April,
Right.
but I do think we were all shared in those costs. I do believe that. I'll have to double check it here. Councilor Peter Kister, go ahead.
Going in a different direction, if Newerville didn't directly benefit from their much needed internet, would they have even paid it after we got out?
Yes, because they had paid it originally.
The whole amount?
Yes, Wawa paid their portion as well. Yeah.
Okay.
If you look at the original invoice,
Okay.
I'm just gonna see here. Yeah, my understanding that this invoice was created after, we were out of it, but it's for the services rendered before.
Because you already paid 6,000, you said, plus another 1,000, correct? We already put into the project about $7,000, correct?
No, we put in 4,000.
Or, I'm sorry, I
Yeah,
apologize.
Yeah, by our agreements.
misunderstood
We
you.
had 3,000 in our original agreement. Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe it
It
was
was-
3,000.
I remember recalling seeing 3,000.
And
that was
then our
originally, yeah.
second, the second funding instrument we signed was for 1,000.
Thank you.
I do believe in good faith, we should pay it,
For some reason, I felt that we knew that we were gonna have to pay something. So. I really did.
I'd have to agree with that.
when you look at collaborating with communities, this is obviously a learning experience as well, is that to ensure that as we move forward, that there's an exit strategy created within the documents right from the get-go, which we could have talked about. So definitely a learning experience there. And that if we are ever the title holder of a collaboration and we do something askew, I would hope that they would help us out. It was a joint project from the beginning.
Sure is a good lesson though, that you should have a cap on it, and if you go over, it's on you. Like legally put down.
Yeah,
Paper doesn't make good friends.
Really, and it really, we should have had an exit strategy from the beginning, and it was, this originally was March of 2016. It was signed, I believe.
Way back when.
April 4th of 2018, sorry. Okay, I'm gonna I'll read the motion out, if I can get a mover and a seconder, and then we can continue discussion or change the motion if we see fit. Moved by Councillor Peter Kistemaker, second by Councillor Belinda Kistemaker. Whereas the Northeast Superior Regional Broadband Network, NSRBN, was founded to facilitate the development, installation, and operation of a broadband network to promote economic growth, resiliency, and improve access to health and education services. The project in each of its member communities. And whereas the Township of Hornepayne withdrew from NSRBN through resolution number 2021-099 on March 24th, 2021. And whereas the Township of Hornepayne received an invoice for $6,696.19 from DD West LP for legal costs incurred up to April 15th, 2021, with services rendered more specifically described as negotiation and development of a proposed corporate structure, preparation and presentation of a PowerPoint for NSRBN regarding the corporate structure, virtual meetings, telephone calls, and emails with NSRBN and Crown Capital, drafting and review of legal documents, including resolutions, non-disclosure agreement, term sheets, unanimous shareholders agreement, limited partnership agreement, preparation of negotiation point summary, and research and legal advice regarding First Nation issues, municipal legislation issues, corporate governance issues. And whereas at the regular meeting held on June 16th, 2021, Council defeated resolution number 2021-183 to pay DD West LLP $6,696.19. And whereas Council has received correspondence from Mayor Beverly Natel, Township of Duberville, dated October 30th, 2023, requesting that Council reconsider their decision. Therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Hornepayne does hereby agree to pay DD West LLP the amount of $6,696.19 for services rendered as a previous partner of the Northeast Superior Regional Broadband Network, NSRBN. So my suggestion on the motion is that we will not be paying DD West because it's paid. So it would be paying the Township of Duberville. And that if we're going to pay the full amount, I would encourage that all the others pay their amounts so that we all split the bill for them. Because that we know in our own community, 60,000 is over a 1% tax increase.
Yeah.
And we did all enter an agreement in good faith.
Yep.
So, so it would be in the final, therefore be it resolved, it would be does hereby agree to pay the Township of Duberville the amount of for, and it's not services rendered, it would be for
Contractual obligations.
sounds good. For contract obligations as a previous partner of the Northeast Superior Regional Broadband Network, NSRBN. And would it be therefore be it further resolved that the Council of the Township of Hornepayne further encourages all partners to pay?
I was drafted, so.
Okay,
So yeah, it would be it further resolved that council does hereby encourage the rest of the Northeast Superior Regional Broadband Network and NSRBN partners to pay their share. Also, the wording can be changed. I learned that I can fix it before it is sent for signing as long as the message sticks its name.
okay. Does that sound acceptable to council? So we're agreeing to pay and that we're encouraging all other partners to pay. Okay, could you read the final two paragraphs that you have right now, Jen, before I put it for a vote?
I also had a quick question.
Yes, go ahead.
Should we include in the last whereas that they've also informed us that they have paid DD West the full cost
Yeah, we could do that, that council reconsider their decision and that the Township of Duberville has paid the entire invoice.
How I wrote it was,
Okay, yeah.
all the same to Township of Duberville, comma, informing the township that they have paid DD West the full cost of the invoice and requesting the council reconsider their decision.
Sounds good. Sound good to council?
Yeah.
Okay, and that clarifies it. Yeah, if you want to just read from that whereas down the last three, thank you.
Whereas council has received correspondence from Mayor Beverly Mansell, Township of Duberville, informing the township that they paid DD West LLP the full cost of the invoice and requesting that council reconsider their decision. Therefore, be it resolved that the council of the corporation of the Township of Hornepayne does hereby agree to pay the Township of Duberville the amount of $6,696.19 for contract obligations as a previous partner of the Northeast Superior Regional Broadband Network, NSRBN. Be it further resolved that council does hereby encourage the other NSRBN partners to pay the Township of Duberville for their portion.
Okay. And I'll put that to a vote. Those in favor? And that is carried, none opposed. At our next meeting, could you verify where we've taken that out of? It's an amount that you're able to do on your own.
Yeah.
So if you could let us know. Okay. Thank you, Honey. Okay, if there's no further discussion, we'll move on to 7.5 is police presence in the community. And Eileen, you'd like to speak to this item?
I just wanted to update council in the sense that the Legion's second request, which is on here, the follow-up request was, both requests were actually brought to the meeting that Mayor Ford and I had with Sergeant Kevin Fellinger. And I had updated the Legion, specifically Albina, on the discussion and just advised her that her concerns or the Legion's concerns were addressed with Sergeant Fellinger. And I had informed her of the information that she had mentioned and advised us on. And he's now aware of this information. And he did say that they always aim for police presence in town. And they want to answer and attend to each and every call. But they're also working with limited staffing and having difficulties in recruiting new members to the north. And then he also mentioned that the Legion, it's fine that they share their concerns with the township, but I had advised her that, as discussed in our meeting, that the township is the middle person. So it's best, as per Sergeant Fellinger's request, that the Legion should submit their concerns to the Office of the Independent Police Review Director, so the OIPRD. I shared the website information, or the contact information, and mentioned there's no immediate solutions, but the first one would be you can go ahead and share your concerns with the township. We can share it with the sergeant, but at the end of the day, it's best for the affected parties to submit their complaints and concerns directly to the OPP through the OIPRD. It's best if the affected parties always speak directly with the OPP.
Yeah, and in our meeting, just to follow up with that, it also helps for data because they're seeing like if there's, and everything is followed up, right? Kevin gets all of the information, everything's followed up with, and it actually creates data for the system. So even when calls aren't answered to, like in this case, even that data gets captured. And the call, I did verify too, if calls that police do not make it to because they're out on another call per se, that data is captured as well. So we do see those, but even if they have not responded, it doesn't just get lost. So go ahead.
Just point of interest, how many police officers are they short? Can you say that, anything?
I want to say that they have maybe 4 or 5 right now, and the goal is always to have about 7 to 8. I can't remember if he said 8, but they're having a hard time getting there.
Yeah, I think right now their complement is supposed to be 6. They have 5. and, but one is not working. So, but when he said the detachment can have 12 officers, and he would like to try and get it to that, because there's responding now to different calls, like, and we're more centered, so that was encouraging. Yeah, but we can double check on that number, just because we're getting conflicting if it's 7 or 8, but I believe it was 6, but we'll bring you back the right number. Any further discussion on that item? Okay. Our deputy clerk did some research on deferred motions and on and learned some different things when this was happening. And in this case, we would actually pass a motion that we're going to proceed as discussed, so that there's something in our minutes saying what we're doing, and everything that we've so far for this item we have done. Almina was followed up with, the website was given to her, and also I did suggest that we, Jen had informed me we can include a blurb within our minutes, giving that right in our minutes, that website and the information for anyone that reads our minutes, so that they know where to report any items concerning the police or police presence. So if I can get a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Bourgouin Kistemaker, second by Councillor Peter Kistemaker. Be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Hornepayne does hereby proceed as discussed. Those in favor? And that is carried. Just a follow-up to what I had begun to say was that in our resolutions, you can see them now that we always have carried, defeated, and deferred at the bottom. And after doing some research and talking to Jen's mentor, we should actually just have carried and deferred, carried and defeated. And if we are going to defer a motion, we actually put a motion on the floor that says deferred, and we carry it or defeat it. Okay, moving on to correspondence information only. And I believe, Eileen, you wanted to speak to a few items in here. I'll get the mover and the seconder to open up the item. Moved by Councillor Drago Spence, second by Councillor Bourgouin Kistemaker. Be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Hornepayne does hereby acknowledge receipt of the correspondence information only package attached to the agenda of the regular meeting of Council held on Wednesday, November 15th, 2023. And go ahead, Eileen, the floor is yours.
I just wanted to bring 3 items to council's attention. Item 8.2, these are based on, I believe, the last council meeting, so November 1st. This is what was submitted to the MECP based on what council had advised or directed staff to submit to MECP. So these are council's comments. And then 8.4, just David Jeremy's follow-up to his deputation, which was, I think, October. Yeah, and then the last one is 8.13. We had advised Mayor Fort in our agenda review that this one would might be beneficial, this article to read to HHC, just because they are removing the provincial portion of the HST on qualifying new purpose-built housing.
And I agreed. I thought that was a great idea to share it with the HHC, and I think we should also share 8.3. That NPI publication is well done. And I would like to highlight to council that 8.9 is AMO's update on the fall economic statement. I'm actually going to go to it. 2 funding envelopes were highlighted in the statement, which could benefit us greatly. Let me get to it.
Addressing the gaps.
Giving more funding. One is for infrastructure and it was water system repairs. So the province has committed 200 million over 3 years through the Housing Enabling Water System Fund for repair, rehabilitation, expansion of municipal water and wastewater infrastructure. I'm not sure if any of our needs will be able to fit into that, but I was happy to see that. And the other one was the $3 billion in the fund for the Ontario Infrastructure Bank. And that's helping with large-scale infrastructure projects. And if you look at the annual report, it's long-term care homes, energy infrastructure, affordable housing, municipal and community infrastructure, and transportation. So there could be possible envelopes there for us. I didn't have any further items on the information only. Is there anything from council? Okay, there being none, I put the motion to a vote. Those in favor, oh, sorry.
Actually, I do have
Yeah.
something, and that's just because of my previous meeting.
Okay.
The registered nurses, sounds like, it looks like, the West is looking for data when it comes to, how much, the, nurses going to other places, how it's affecting their hospitals, okay?
The agency
line of-
nursing?
Yes,
Yeah.
agency nurses, they're collecting data on that, and I was kind of thinking it was a good idea to maybe bring that forward to, probably, Mr. Shinneman, about, bringing it up at the hospital meeting on, how much it's costing them, because apparently it's putting our hospitals into their line of credit because they don't get cleared until the end of the year, and how much they're struggling. So I thought it was kind of a point of interest
Okay.
going forward on how, because the other communities are looking at that as well. So
Are they collecting data?
they're
Is it,
collecting data,
and who's the ED there?
mainly, it's a guy from Geraldton, Rick, I think his name is Rick. He's the one that's.
From Marathon, Rick Dumas?
No.
No, okay.
Eric from, Greenstone.
Oh,
Okay, he's the one that actually brought it up, so maybe he's a good one to talk to about it.
Okay, is that Eric Rutherford?
No,
No?
it starts with a P.
Okay,
I can look it up and forward it to you.
yeah, let's get that and then
I'm
we can.
bad with names.
No, then we can put them in contact directly with
Yeah,
the hospital, right?
but
And then,
I
I know that they would be willing to share the data. We had our recruitment and retention meeting the other day, and there's two, they need 2 full-time RNs, and they are still utilizing agency nurses, yeah,
Okay, and, yeah,
okay.
I thought it was important.
Yeah, so if you get the information, the contact to Eileen, we can contact, get
Yeah.
Heather in contact.
I will.
Anything to support, I know Heather will be on board. Okay, so if there's no further comments on information only, I put,
Just one more.
yeah, go ahead.
On 8.10, we've talked about this in the past, we shouldn't drop the ball, it's just people should be involved on both sides of the fence. Like restoring the caribou in the boreal forest, this will negatively affect the forestry industry that produces 180,000 jobs across Ontario greatly. It's got a huge impact on it. They're only telling you one side of the story, which caribou did run wild hundreds of years ago in the boreal forest, but if we reintroduce them, it changes both the moose hunting and as well, and most importantly, to myself personally, is the forest industry. It's a huge impact. I've heard as much as 50% reduction, so I'm talking affecting provincial budgets, everything, it's huge. So the naysayers, they just want you to see what they want to say, but I believe that the whole, like, you got the benefits that are going to come with it for traditional groups that used to rely on the caribou, and I totally understand that. I also support it, but it's at the cost of, and this is what everybody should know.
Mhm. I was encouraged when I read the news release that the people that provided comment, one was Wendy Landry, the mayor of Shunya, who's heavily involved with the Ontario forest industry.
Yeah.
And an advocate for the forestry. And she commented on it because they got a donation to the First Nation for different research. And Chief Duncan Marchand, he commented as well. So I think we're in good hands in that regard, that we have people that have the forestry industry and our livelihood as they look forward in discussions of this. But I do agree with you, Peter. It's something that can't
just be let me
Yeah.
look over, and then all of a sudden it's
Yeah,
too
for
late.
sure. Go ahead, Councilor.
That came up at my previous meeting as well,
Okay.
and basically they're saying that the information that is out there, it's like 7 to 8 years old.
Really.
So
So we're not dealing with facts anymore.
it has, yeah,
That's no good.
and yeah, so that was an issue.
Okay. So are they looking at getting newer facts or what?
Well, they're wondering, they want newer facts,
Okay,
because they're saying like the information that is being presented is now,
obsolete.
because everyone's saying they don't have caribou where they are.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, it's definitely something to follow. you know, for
It
these
sure
other
is.
discussions. Okay, thank you for that, council, and I'll put the information only package to a vote to acknowledge receipt. Those in favor? And that is carried. Okay, item number 9.1 is the Algoma District Services Board meeting minutes. If I can get a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councilor Peter Kissinger, second by Councilor Douglas Cannon. Be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Hornepayne does hereby acknowledge receipt of the minutes from the Algoma District Services Administration Board ADSAB meeting held on September 28th, 2023. Any discussion on those minutes or comments? Councilor Douglas
Yeah,
Cannon,
thank
go
you,
ahead.
Mayor, through you. I'm looking at item number 7 on your minutes.
Okay,
Can you please expand on the first paragraph in that open question and answer, please?
just a second.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
I do read those, I enjoy them.
Yeah, so this was actually, I believe, my question about partnering with other groups and ensuring that we do that. And what they found in the past is that they rarely receive approval. And then we had a further discussion about other services boards and how they're successful and trying to look at how they've been successful and looking into that. So yeah, it was an open discussion. And there's actually on our next meeting minutes, you'll see the discussion about the service delivery review and the ambulance update, because it's missing here, but we added it to the October minutes.
Thank you for explanation.
No problem. Any further questions or discussion? Okay, there being none, I put those minutes to acknowledge receipt to a vote. Those in favor? And that is carried. Okay, 9.2. So this is where council committee updates, and I'm going to say to council right now that we can continue this after, but we will be breaking at 7:15 and going into our closed. So I'll start. Councilor Drewstat, would you like to?
Yeah, I'll go real quick. I have a virtual PHU finance meeting, that's second one this month. I have a PHU entire Board of Health meeting next Thursday. I have a meeting for library board last week of November. I commend Darnell and her team on the truck retreat. I know it was a while ago. They had a real good turnout, real positive comments, and I commend the entire staff and all the volunteers, all the groups were part of it as well. I think they did a great job, and I think she should be commended for that. Thank
Good,
you.
good, right on. I'm glad to hear it was a success. And I did want to say in our information only package about the government looking favorably on the health units that are voluntarily collaborating, so that's a good thing for us. So, Councilor Kissinger, Belinda?
Oh, I think I already said all mine.
Yeah. Councilor Peter Kissinger?
Not a lot, just, first of all, I'd like to second what Dragos just said. I totally agree with the trunk or treat. I've heard nothing but positive results, and thank you to all the volunteers, and I know the kids loved it. It was, kids are everything. Going on that theme, I've had several people ask me how development on or any progress towards the baseball field. Now we're into the winter, so it doesn't, it's going to be on the back shelf, but going forward, I don't want that to be lost. We promised the public when we agreed to sell the property much needed hotel. I totally back that up to the state, but we really have to seriously consider how are we gonna make this work? We gotta get a ball field. We got so little to offer, and we're telling the people of the community that we're doing our best to give them more, but we give and it's just like we're going a step in, a step back, and I really believe it's something that we can do. It doesn't have to be an MLB field. We'll start off small and continue from there.
Yeah, and I think we'll have a further update on
Yeah.
the CAO's report in the beginning of December
Yeah,
on that and where that is, and we can have full discussion.
yeah, and I just want the people of Hornepayne to realize that we haven't forgotten about it.
Yeah,
And it just seems that everything's glacial when you try to do something.
or spring comes and then we're like, oh, we could have done.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Thank you, that's everything.
Okay, we'll have an update at December meeting.
On my monthly report,
Yeah,
yeah.
on your monthly report.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Committee update. So, just to update council, I did not get my meetings in for September and October in time for the agenda. So in December, and I'll include November in there as well. But I do want to give council that I did have a meeting with the group about the rural immigration northern pilot project. So, what happened with the communities back last year, there was an ministerial order open, and all of the cities that are part of the pilot were consulted, and they consulted with their stakeholders apparently, and that's how the boundaries got expanded. I don't recall us being consulted with from Sault Ste. Marie. So the suggestion was made that we actually meet with Sault Ste. Marie and see what can happen now, if anything. But if it does become a federal program, that we ensure that we put the pressure on that we are included in that federal program, and that we're not, if it becomes an existing program. The group that I met with were helpful. They haven't yet, but they're supposed to provide me with the Ontario nominee program and one other immigration program that's out there currently. But obviously there's some holes in that if they created the northern pilot, right? So we do have some avenues to take, but it was unfortunate news. They said to open up to make it a new order right now, 3 months out before it's finished it's not going to happen. We know that at this table, but I was disappointed that we weren't included in stakeholder meetings, and I'll have to reach out to Duberville and White River and Walmart and find out where they were at, but possibly we look at in the new year, right? The first meeting of the new year is passing another motion to include that we're part of any permanent immigration program for the North. So go ahead.
I just have one question on that. When you are talking to White River, for instance, because we are in partnership with them, like because of where I work, whatever, if they weren't part of it, then there's a problem. Like if the other 3 communities aren't, because we are having people come in and living here, so someone should have looked into that.
Yeah. Well,
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and really, other than knowing about it on the news, until the issue that's currently happening in our community came to me, to the forefront that I saw it, I had not heard about it. Like, I didn't see it at the council table. I don't ever remember being asked to be consulted if that program should be expanded. I don't know if anyone else, and I know our current CAO and our past CAO are both diligent on making sure that we have the news we need, so included in our agenda packages. So, yeah. So anyway, I will, to follow up that, I will reach out to Sault Ste. Marie, and I actually am traveling there in December for personal appointments. So I'll try and fit the meeting in at that time, or we could do a virtual meeting sooner. I want to get on a win-win with them. Like, what do we need to include in our resolution, our motion that we put on the floor to ensure we're included with any permanent program? I don't want us to not be captured in a permanent program. So But anyway, that's the follow-up to that. I am going to be at Good Roads meetings next week. We are going to be at Queen's Park on, Wednesday. We'll be there the entire day and, for advocacy, and we're still looking at, safer roads and communities. So, and that's it right now. And then we have, before our next council meeting, just so council knows, we do have the tree lighting on the first Sunday in December. Okay,
London Hill again.
and I think that brings us to 7:15. So if I get a mover and a seconder to close our open, please, and move into closed. Moved by Councillor Drago Stefanik, second by Councillor Peter Kissmaker. Be it resolved that the next portion of the meeting at 7:15 PM be closed to the public in order to discuss personal matters. Sorry, I gotta put on my glasses here. Personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose, and a trade secret or scientific, technical, for commercial, financial, or labor relations information supplied in confidence to the municipality or local board, which if disclosed could reasonably be expected to prejudice significantly the competitive position or interfere significantly with the contractual or other negotiations of a person, group of persons, or organization pursuant to section 239, 2BFI of the Municipal Act 2001. Those in favor? And that is carried. Okay, we're good to go? Okay, if I can get a mover and a seconder to return to open council, moved by Councilor Drago-Stefanik, second by Councilor Belinda Kistemaker. Be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Hornepayne does hereby return to open council at 8:18 p.m. Those in favor? And that is carried. Item number 14 is business arising from the closed session. There was 3 items discussed. 3.2, staffing. The CAO will implement as discussed in the closed session of council's decision. 3.3 is sale of land by public tenant. This is an ongoing discussion that will continue with council. And the item that was added, 13.4, staffing. There is a resolution or a motion to table from that discussion. If I can get a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councilor Peter Kistemaker, second by Councilor Belinda Kistemaker. Be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Hornepayne does hereby authorize the CAO clerk to hire a temporary employee to perform accounting services according to the conditions laid out during the closed session of council. And any further discussion on that motion? There being none, I put it to a vote. Those in favor? And that is carried. Okay, council will return to the items in our agenda where we left off. And we were at item number 10, new and other business, which we do not have anything there now. And item 11 is bylaws. So the first one is our community improvement plan. If I can get a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councilor Drago-Stefanik, second by Councilor Belinda Kistemaker. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2038, being a bylaw to adopt a community improvement plan for the Township of Hornepayne, be hereby read a first and second time, be considered read a third time, and finally passed. I'll open up the floor for discussion, and I believe, Eileen, you have some notes on the changes that were made to the document?
Yes, I can update council and just advise that the feedback that some of the changes that were made to the CIP, the community improvement plan, there was text added regarding some of the feedback that came through Mayor Fort or from the Hornepayne Housing Corporation. So there was text added into the CIP regarding the speed bumps, metrics for spacing benches, signage, and using the Pavilion Park as a market area. There was questions for the CIP presentation, and so the feedback given and the amendments made to the CIP was that they added institutions to programs, clarified dimensions of painted pedestrian / cycling lane, and the report cites the fees that may be reduced, which is on page 39, and there was text added regarding the amendment process for the CIP.
Okay, is there any further discussion from council? Okay, if there's no other further comments or questions, I'm going to put this to a vote. Those in favor? And that is carried. Congratulations, council. We have a CIP.
May I have a hard copy when it's ready, Mayor Fort, for you to CEO, please?
Definitely, I'll be putting in your file.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to bylaw number 2039, tax sale building protection, and this was brought back to us. If I can get a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councilor Belinda Kistemaker, second by Councilor Peter Kistemaker. Be resolved that bylaw number 2038, being a bylaw to protect and safeguard the integrity of buildings and land subject to a tax sales process and which have not been yet transferred to a third-party purchaser, be hereby read a first and second time, be considered read a third time, and finally passed. Any discussion on that bylaw? Okay, there being none, I put it to a vote. Those in favor? And that is carried. Item number 1113 and 1114 are bylaws for our skate and snowshoe rental policies. If I can get a mover and a seconder for the skate Moved by Councillor Peter Kistemaker, second by Councillor Belinda Kistemaker. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2040, being a bylaw to establish a skate rental policy for the Township of Hornepayne, be hereby read a first and second time, be considered read a third time, and finally passed. Any discussion on that bylaw? Councillor Dragos to
Yeah, through you, Mayor, I wasn't here for meetings when this was discussed. What skates are we be renting to the public? I want to know.
I refer to the CAO.
Sorry,
What skates are we gonna be renting to the public through this skate rental policy?
I'm gonna refer that question to the deputy clerk through me, please.
I'm fairly certain, I could be wrong, but from my understanding, we received a grant to get the skates and the snowshoes. And this was a while ago, but we have not had a chance to actually implement the rental process, so it's to rent out those.
And
Yeah, go ahead.
supplementary question, do we have that equipment currently now in our facilities?
I believe so, yes.
That's
Mhm.
crucial to have that, right?
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, good
Appreciate
question. Good question. Okay, the comment that I had, and thank you for updating the policy to include some language to allow children to go without their parents, is under eligibility of the skate rental policy is 3.2B. And why I bring this up is I'm actually asked Councillor Peter Kistemaker for discussion on this item because it reads minors aged 12 and under must be accompanied by a legal adult aged 18 or older to participate in skating activities. And just my concern was, and we discussed this in the agenda meeting, about possibly lowering that to 10. And I was wondering about minor hockey is really.
Yeah, in minor hockey, like we have different group, it goes different groups, so you got U7, U9, U11. And it would, but 12 years old, I think would be too old. Like that's why I refer to them as previous, but it's U13 now. And they're getting up there in age and they're quite capable of handling themselves on the ice. And I agree with Mayor Fort that we should be lowering it to the age of 10 without parental consent. Because as it is with public skating now, we have kids of any age going up without parental guidance, using their own equipment. And I don't want to discourage, and I really believe that the younger they are, you want to get them into the sports and utilizing our facilities, the younger the better. And any extra hindrance will, you just put up an extra roadblock. Like we don't need to put any more bumps in the road.
Okay, thank you for that. In agreement for 10, okay. And that adjustment can be made, we can still pass the bylaw and put that adjustment in. I just, for council's knowledge, during the meeting, I asked, our agenda meeting when we were reviewing this, I had asked about if a person was bringing, like myself, say I was bringing up 3 children to skate that were 9 and under at this time now, would they be able to skate with me? And that's fine too. It's covered in the policy that parents would have to sign the waiver, but then it would be there and they would have it on in the file for the child. So
Yeah.
Okay, so any other comments or question on the skate rental policy? Okay, I put that bylaw to a vote with the one change. Those in favor? And that is carried. Okay, the next one is 11.4, which is the snowshoe rental policy. If I can get a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Dragos Stefanik, second by Councillor Belinda Kistemaker. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2041, being a bylaw to establish the snowshoe rental policy for the Township of Hornepayne, be hereby read a first and second time, and considered read a third time, and finally passed. Any discussion on that bylaw? The one item that I did bring up in discussion in our agenda meeting about this was also item 3, is the eligibility. It read different than the skate policy, and I thought we should just mimic what's in the skate policy. That it was actually more concerning to me that young people don't rent snowshoes under 10, or even like, I just was worried that they're gonna rent snowshoes and then take them somewhere in the bush and they're not there. So I wanted to institute that the 10 years of age at that point too, and include that in if we mimic that portion. Go ahead.
I do think you're gonna wanna take out skate and put in snowshoe.
Yes,
I
yes.
Okay.
My bad.
Yeah, thank you for that.
It's
It's called cross sports,
Yeah.
extreme sports.
So it would be the same, it would, my suggestion is that it reads the same as the skate policy where you have to get parental consent, and then 17 or 10 years and older would be able to get snowshoes on their own once they have that consent.
I agree with that.
Yeah, okay. And those changes are good, okay. So if there's no further comments on the snowshoe rental policy, there being none, I put that to a vote. Those in favor? And that is carried. Okay, we've already done our, 12 motions and notice of motions. I think we have a couple. Go ahead, Councilor Smith.
Yeah, through you, Mayor, I'd like to have a notice of motion, and if I could get second then on the issue of coyotes in our municipality.
I'll second that.
Okay, so you're looking at for discussion?
I'm looking for staff, if the opportunity for next meeting to see what's the responsibility of municipality as far as coyotes, and this is health and safety, well-being of our community. What is our responsibility? What is the responsibility of MNR, and how to eliminate that problem? So I'd like to have a general discussion, if possible, at the next meeting.
Okay, we can definitely do that.
Thank
So
you.
the discussion will happen and then the movement from that whatever is the final motion.
Yes, please.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay, Councilor Belinda Kismaker?
Yeah, I would like to relook at 1862 bylaw for Becker Road and the minimal, speed limit on that road.
Okay, so so to revisit speed
Revisit,
limits
yes.
on bylaw 1862, and do you
Yes.
have a seconder? Peter, Councilor Peter Kistemaker, okay. And just for clarification from staff, do we need a more clarity on that for the motion?
For both or for
Either, either one?
I'm just gonna clarify, so for, sorry, Councilor Stefanics, it was coyotes in the municipality. What is the municipality's responsibility?
Yes,
And, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, and MNR's responsibility?
Okay, yeah.
Because it is a major health and safety issue for our citizens and our, and their pets. I'd like to know where we stand.
Okay, so I just want to get clarity on, so the motion on the floor though is that council would have a discussion on that first and then see if any of that work would be done.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes, of course.
does that clarify that a bit, or did I just water it? Probably muddy to stir the pot here.
And then for Belinda's, or sorry, Kistemaker Belinda's. Revisit bylaw 1862 and what the minimal speed limit is on Becker Road.
Yeah, basically past our Hornepayne Cemetery.
Okay.
You're good? Okay, perfect. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I missed the seconder for Councilor Smith.
Okay. We'll have those discussions at our next meeting. And moving on now, if there's no further motions or notice motion, okay. Moving on, we'll go to item 15, the adjournment. If I can have a mover and a seconder for confirmatory, moved by Councilor Dragos Fence, seconded by Councilor Peter Kistemaker. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2042 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at the regular meeting held on Wednesday, November 5th, 2023. Be hereby read a first and second time and be considered read a third time and finally passed. Those in favor? And that is Belinda Kistemaker, second by Councilor Peter Kistemaker. Be it resolved that council does hereby adjourn this regular meeting of council held on Wednesday, November 15th, 2023 at 8:33 p.m. Those in favor? And that is carried. Right on, council. Good job.
Thank you.